Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're not listening to the mind of an Atari's Moon. I'm the Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And yeah, I had got a question. I always forget the name. I'm so sorry. But the question was, a person was a little confused because they heard me say one time that you go into a vessel when you are born, when you die, and when you are born, you go into a vessel that you're vibrating with. You go into the whatever your frequency vibrating was. That's the vessel you going. So as you see the world that you in, you see all the living beings in this world, right? You're basically whatever you're vibrating with, that's the kind of vessel, that's the kind of idea that you have. So that's the kind of thought and idea that what kind of vessel you're gonna be in to be okay. And then they asked the question, they say, okay, if that's the case, then how can we choose? How did we know who we was choosing before we come here? Because I heard you say in one video that we choose who do we come in through based upon. So, all right, it's a thin line between what you're vibrating with and what you chose to come into. Now, when you step into like one dimension and things of that nature, which there's always a one dimension. The one dimensions are 1, 4, 1, 4, and 7. 1, 4, and 7. All the second dimensions are 2, 5, and 8. And all the third dimensions are 3, 6, and 9. And dimensions is just conscious awarenesses. Dimensions is this level of awarenesses, level of sight, level of viewpoints. You see what I'm saying? So to see a higher dimension, you need a bigger vessel. So now, here's the thin line between you choosing what you come into and you going into it once you die and going to and be born again. You just go into the frequency vibration subconsciously. Now, what you're doing now is what you always done, but depending on the dimension you in and all the illusions you have learned, it confused you to make you think that this is your only life, and what may have happened before or after is unprovable. But see, look, this is what happened. Since you know what you're doing now is what you always did, then your frequency vibrations now is how you always been vibrating. So obviously you was vibrating on a frequency to be here where you are now. So you see what I'm saying? So to know what you're doing in the present is to know what you always done. So what you're doing now is to know, that's how you know what you chose, Like me, for an example, I don't like going into the light. So I know the way how I got in this realm of reality, I didn't go into the light. You see what I'm saying? So I got absorbed in another way. You see what I'm saying? But or maybe I was going into the light, and I'm learning in this time, in this vessel, to not go into the light because of what I'm consciously aware of now. Now check this out. Let's start it off like this. Now, remember when I was saying, okay, your thoughts is not yours, right? Now, your thoughts is not yours. But like, you are a being, right? You are a being within a being, right? And it's always like that, right? So just on higher and lower dimensions. So to know all dimensions is in the same place, right? So for you to know that you've been doing what you always been doing, now you know you've been in other dimensions because you're in the third dimension, right? Now don't get confused about all the illusions by conflating shit and saying, well, this third dimension that you're talking about ain't the third dimension. That no, it's all the same shit. So since you're in the third dimension, you experience the first and second dimension, period, regardless what kind of being you was in that dimension. Because, and here's another thing, you may have experienced certain dimensions thousands and thousands of times until you learn how to overcome the understanding of the level of understanding of that dimension, getting consciously aware. You see what I'm saying? Same way you hear now. You may have been all kind of animals, bugs, and this kind of third, a human. You may have been in all kind of ideas within this chakra, within this realm of reality, within this womb, until you learn all the consciousness awareness of this to be able to. Okay, let's go back now. All right, look. Now, remember when I said your thoughts and ideas is not yours? Okay, they're not. Now everything is as above, so below, as within, as without. So in so many aspects, as without, since you're within a being, yeah, as without, these thoughts is not yours. You're getting all these thoughts from the overall thought, but all these many thoughts, many spaces, many frequencies, many spaces within spaces, depending on locations, things like and things of that nature, and how you receiving it within your space, your center, within the center, right? Then these is all the thoughts you're receiving. So when you get to yourself, right, and do your resistance build up, like I said, right, this is what develop your own thoughts. But when you want to flip the story around, right, and then talk about, okay, that's outer. Now we talk about inner now. As above, so below, as without, so within. So as within, same way you are in a body within a body, you have bodies within you, like cells and shit like that, right? So in so many mechanisms, these thoughts and ideas at the same time as without is the same thing as within. So you're getting all the living beings thoughts within you. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of times, so think about it. It's the same thing. So think about you right now, right? You're in the think you're in the third dimension. Or before we get there, let's talk about the whole first dimensional path. I'll be like, remember when I said the first dimension is what? Frequency, space, spirit, idea, thought, right? So when you was just a thought, you was just an idea, right? That idea gets accumulated through a chakra wheel, through a light source in your body, right? Because your inside your body is all dark, but your light sources is your lights. Same way you're within a body, a solar system, but but to know how small you is, you're within one of the chakras within that solar system being, right? You're within one of the chakras, but the chakra itself is a being, and you're learning how to become a organism, a chakra itself. So you're in a chakra, so you're in another mother. Same way you was in the look, because everything happened kind of simultaneously too. So look, when you starting to step into bodies, when you starting to get into the 369, things always appear as a third dimension or a sixth dimension or a ninth dimension. But when you in the one and the two dimensions of them, like the 4 and the 5, the 7 and the 8, the 1 and 2, these things kind of happen simultaneously. So, but the higher the dimension, the longer the experience. So same way when you was this idea, thought, and you became a sperm cell in the first dimension, the fourth dimension, you're going to become a oversoul. But an oversoul isn't nothing but a spirit of a planet, sun consciousness, getting ready to be born into that. Then you go into the fifth dimension. So it's gonna be like a planet consciousness, how you see it from the third dimension. But in that realm of reality, you just in another womb, like you in now in the third dimension. But third dimension, you're still in the concept of a two dimension. We're gonna get there, right? But then sixth dimension is like an adult. So that's like an adult. So a star is more like an adult planet. You see what I'm saying? It's like then once it step into that consciousness awareness, right? It gets developed, and then once it become it's in the head. Once you can live in the sun in the sixth dimension, you're in the head. And then once you become the head, you're the overall idea. Now the overall idea is that becomes what the thing is spitting back out, and then it comes back out in a bigger vessel. So it becomes that being, but in so many realms of reality, it becomes itself that can look at this being. So it could become a solar system itself from a sun. You know what I'm saying? Then it's like a galaxy. But let's not go ahead real quick. You see what I'm saying? Let's go back to, all right, now, as far as these thoughts, as without, as within, right? So say now the idea and the thought that you have, that I say that's not yours. Say it's a good ass idea, right? It's a good ass idea. So as without, in so many raw aspects, you could say that's a thought that you got from however you was vibrating, right? And then you receive that thought, and then you resonate with it or you don't as you go within. But as you go within, the same thing happens within. It was a thought of a being within you but you're the overall thought. You're the universe, but that's your experience in the overall thoughts of all the beings and the souls within you as a universe. But that one thought, say that one thought tapped into the sun so much in your universe to the point that it made the sun like, okay, this is an idea I want to roll with. Same way you do here when you get consciously aware. But then within you, boom, say you get this say you just get an idea, right? And it's something that you vibrate with. So it's something you want to experience. You want to experience that timeline, right? So you start to vibrate with it and put emotions and feelings. That idea is an actual, because you only have one idea at a time. That was an actual being within you, a cell that had a good idea, was consciously aware to the point. The better they work together inside you, the same way we all work together inside the being we in. You see what I'm saying? You see where I'm going? Now, the same being within you that gave that idea, the moment you start vibrating with it and put emotions and feelings with it, you gave that being light. You gave that being access and source to do some things in that world it's in, right? And it's vibrating high, right? So now you're that expression of that idea, right? So it kind of took over you a little bit, right? So now you starting to express it, right? So when you have sex, the sperm that's developed is the idea of that, the strongest idea within you. Now, really, in that realm of reality, what it's going to appear like is somebody's dying. You know what I'm saying? Or disaster. Or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Or something, it's like a disaster or someone's dying. It's transformation going on. You see what I'm saying? Because what people don't understand is people got all this science behind the kundalini and things of that nature. When your kundalini is always rising. It's just what level is it rising on? You could be having a kundalini is when you exploit one of your chakras. And when you exploit your chakras is organisms. So when you exploit it, that means you give it a lot of energy. And when you give it a lot of energy, it has to exhaust the energy. But the way it exhausts the energy, a lot of times, it makes the body feel pleasure. So you can have a mental orgasm. You can have a sensual orgasm. You can have a loving orgasm. You can have you know what I'm saying, like a reality orgasm. You can have a sexual orgasm that's dealing with the root chakra. You know what I'm saying? But all these are orgasms. Now, the kundalini is when you just turn all these on. So that's like when all your chakras is lit. You know what I'm saying? And that's when you can everything is pleasurable. You know what I'm saying? To the point that you might just bust a nut, or girls, you might just get wet just based upon the experience you have it. A nigga might just be having a certain experience and just like, that's where a wet dream come from. You see what I'm saying? So all that, don't let nobody tell you that you have to do some type of breathing technique or you got to type of do this type of for some type of kundalini. You know what I'm saying? You can go have a fucked up kundalini experience by just girls go masturbate and nigga go jack off. You know what I'm saying? You could be brutalizing your kundalini and not utilizing it for what it's utilized for, or you could be taking it and utilizing it for all your imagination to create what you want to create. So when you do have sex or when you do choose to masturbate, right, you have the right idea of what you're trying to create. So when you use your kundalini, you bring something into the world that you actually want to create it, and in due time it's going to start manifesting and shape it because if it's strong enough. You see what I'm saying? Like, don't let nobody tell you some crazy shit. Now, talking about now the idea. Now that idea you thought was that you vibrated with was so powerful. So when you went to go have sex or whatever or things of that nature, that was the majority idea. So that sperm cell conscious awareness is going to be way stronger than the other ones that come out with it. Now check this out. It's going to play out in your body like a death because you're releasing. Anytime there's a releasing, that's a transformation. So inside your body, it's a death. It's something leaving. You know what I'm saying? So how they look at it in their body, it might be things in your body that's don't want to leave, that's scared to leave, that's scared to die. You know what I'm saying? So it's keeping you running and things of that nature. But you is looking at it from overall. You just looking at it just how things work. But but how we looking at it is like, damn, it's death, or damn, it's life, or damn, it's new life coming. You know what I'm saying? Damn, new cells, new blood cells. You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? So another thing too. So when you're looking at it, that's how you gotta look at it. So as the overall thought, right, in a male's idea, right? So when that death happened in his body, right, it's a transformation. Now all them spirits go towards the light, where they go into the dark again, right, and try to find a light, another realm of illusion. So wherever they frequency vibrating at in that realm, boom, now they're in a two-dimensional realm, right? So now they're in a woman. Now, woman, this is your role. This is why you more emotional than the man. This is why you more right brain than the man, because now, and this is when a person is starting to see duality, is starting to relate. So this is why doctors and everybody tell females, it's important to keep stress level down. So it's important to stay positive. It's important to keep your emotional awareness good, because when you pregnant, you're developing the frequency, aka the idea, aka the spirit that's turned into a soul once it went into a realm of reality from one dimension to the second dimension. Now it's in that world, so it's living just like how you living now. It's an existence there. It's the same way looking up and down the stars and the galaxy. Say your chakras to 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 the being within you, woman, will be how we look at the planets now. You see what I'm saying? I'm trying to get you an idea so you can start getting understanding and perspective of things. So now, as a being in a two-dimensional world, you're learning how to vibrate. So the women have strong emotions. So now the frequency is picking the 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 idea of the vibration that the frequency resonate with the most. So now just the spirit turned into a soul, aka the idea, is picking the best vibration that idea match, aka a woman. So woman, when you going along, right, you start catching certain feelings, for certain people, places, and things, right? Right? That's the same thing with you. Same way women, you have voices, to y'all is more like feelings. You know what I'm saying? This is why to y'all is more like feelings. This is why when the feelings leave before the mind for y'all. You see what I'm saying? So you could be physically in a relationship, but if your mind gone, if your feelings gone, then it ain't gonna take that long before the body leave after. So for the most part, when you're talking about as far as the emotions and feelings, that's the emotion and feelings that's the strongest, that you start to vibrate with and start to experience. You may start to like another guy, or you start to like another job or another experience. You start to get into certain things. You start to have certain tastes for certain things, certain tastes. You might start liking things you ain't like before. You might ain't like ketchup on your French fries before. Now you like ketchup on your French fries, right? You know what I'm saying? You might not didn't like the smell of certain bleach and soaps and stuff, but now you like certain smells of Clorox and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And now you want to experience that. That's the you are taking. Remember, your feelings and emotions ain't yours. Same way your spirit, your thoughts and ideas for the females, your feelings and emotions. Your feelings and emotions ain't yours. So with that being in you that got into the egg had the strongest vibration, right? So it had the strongest idea from the man. Now the strongest frequency from the man that went into you, it caught the strongest vibration. So now you going with your feelings. You really think you're going with your feelings? No, you going with that motherfucking feelings. As within, as without, you vibrating with some other spirit feeling out there, depending on how you vibrating. So you see what I'm saying? So how low or high, it's still the same shit. It's within you, but it's without you too. It's the same shit. So now you start to experience that shit. So that's how you know that's the motherfucker characteristic. That character is the motherfucker that's about to elevate. And then since you are in the 3D world, when you birth a child, now you birthed a child in the 3D world. So that child was in the one dimension world, right? As it was small and it was looking at everything the way you look at it now. And when in the two-dimensional world, as a little bigger, then it was small again, seeing everything, boom. Then it went in the three-dimensional world, in the three-dimensional vessel now, as a little bigger, but small compared to other shit, right? And this is what you're doing again, but simultaneously. So now you in the 3 dimension, right? So now we are all living, I don't agree on terms and conditions, but yeah, you guys are all living on Gaia, Torah, right? So you're all living on a chakra. So just look at it like this. If the sun is the crown chakra, right, in the overall being, right, which is the solar system that you're in, right, then look at it from your perspective, right? that means Earth is like right here. So on a level of existence, you live on this wheel. You live on this chakra. You live on this light ball. You live in this globe. You live in this aura right here. And you're 2 auras away from this chakra. You see what I'm saying? Which is 3rd dimension, 4th, 5th. This is why 4th dimension deals with communication. So you're learning all ways of communication, information, and how to think and analyze around your surroundings right now. So you're in the 3rd dimension, being trained to go into the 4th dimension, right? So you're you're in the 3rd dimension, but you're here to perceive the 4th dimension. And a lot of times, and perceiving the 4th dimension is learning your surroundings, learning to judge the surroundings you're around. So that means learning the planets. See, when you was in the womb, you probably was learning a less form of consciousness than that. Spirit, and just spirit form, and that was like a soul. Spirit form in the male, you was learning a lower form of consciousness than that. But they're really the highest forms of consciousness because they're the closest to the zero. You see what I'm saying? But for the most part, when we get to motherfucking the 3rd dimension, now you're training to go to the 4th dimension. So just as humans in general, you're gonna learn how to calculate time and learn how to distance and learn the distance from this chakra to that chakra, aka planets and things of that nature. So you don't know that's what you're doing, but you're doing that subconsciously. That's why I say it's truth in everything, but it's a truth in all lies, but it ain't a lie in all truth. So it don't matter what you hear in this universe. It's gonna be the truth, but people is got it through filters and got it through illusions and confused, and they're not directed towards it, so they don't know that's what they're doing. But they're doing it anyway. So if you let somebody do what you're doing anyway for you, they're gonna access that power and go where they're going. You see what I'm saying? Now, since we're in 3D right now, we're in that whole phase again. You know what I'm saying? So now we're a spirit, soul, and a body. So now we're getting ready to be a higher version of a spirit, soul, and a body with the first 3. You see what I'm saying? So it's all the same shit. So now you're in the 3rd dimension trying to learn the 4th dimension because you're getting ready to so whoever learned the 4th dimension the best in the 3rd dimension is getting ready to inhabit a 4th dimension vessel. So when you go into a womb there, however you was frequency vibrating now, is what you're going to be doing when you get into a bigger vessel, right? But you're just going to see it how you see it now. So it's like you so small now, you're seeing something from within it. So when you look out as without, to you, you're looking within. You see what I'm saying? That's how it is. That's how everything is. So you small as fuck on a chakra. So if you ever wanted to imagine how would it be? I wonder how would it be if I lived in like Moses Jones, the movies and shit. Like if you ever wanted to sit back and wonder, I wonder how would it be if we lived in a body. You don't have to wonder that. That's what it is. That's what life is. Until you understand that, that's the only way you're going to know what level of existence you are in. And the only way you're going to know if you're ascending or descending is knowing what level of existing you in. That's why you have Archangel Uriel videos. You see what I'm saying? Right now you are on the 3rd dimension, but the level of consciousness you're working with and where you came from, I'll let you know. Now, how I can speak. Now, I'm in the 3rd dimension right now, right? Along with y'all. So, when I be saying I've been in a lot of different dimensions and I've been through a lot of different vessels a lot of times, right? I may have did all that in the 2nd dimension. I may have did all that in the 1st dimension. You see what I'm saying? Same way how you may have lived 1,000 times in the 3rd dimension. You have some people who lived as dogs, lived as birds because of their idea, because it's still within this being. So if you in a chakra, you so small, you within a chakra, before you can even think about being a solar system, you have to think about being a planet, a chakra, right? Because you're in training to be a chakra, a oversoul, a planet, a son. That's all the same shit. You see what I'm saying? A baby, a teen, an adult. But just in a higher realm of reality is more perceiving. But it's the same way in a smaller realm of reality. First dimension, just a spirit. Soul, second dimension. Body, third dimension. You see what I'm saying? But it does that again on a higher realm of reality. So when you a baby being birthed as a baby planet, that's an oversoul, fourth dimension, right? But you see how you think you becoming an adult now is the higher level of experience is broader. But you ain't gonna appear it like that. You still gonna see it as like you see it now. You was a baby, then you was a teen, then you was an adult. You know what I'm saying? It's the same shit. All your imaginations and thoughts that you had when you was a baby, it's like that was a lower form of an oversoul. What oversouls is doing. So when I say you get controlled by oversouls, we really get controlled by baby planets. But that conscious awareness world is so big and powerful and strong, you can't perceive it. You can only compare it. You see what I'm saying? So if you ever wanted to know how it is to live inside a body, you living in one. And you not even the grand idea of that body. You know how many bodies? Look how many. It's billions of humans. It's trillions of stars. It's like you're so deep down in the hole that it's like hell. You see what I'm saying? But y'all concepts of hell is wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. Like, y'all concepts, that's dealing with control and all that type of shit. But for the most part, it's like you live in a chakra, right? So your whole point on earth right now, the highest consciousness motherfuckers who learn their surroundings the best. You know what I'm saying? Everybody got their own spectrum. You got scientists, you got religion, you got philosophers. Whoever could bring all these motherfuckers together and learn their consciousness the best, then these motherfuckers is gonna go into it's the same process. They're gonna become the planet's idea, thought. You know what I'm saying? Then once it busts a nut, it goes into a realm of reality, right? And then get a vibration of feeling, and then you're doing that now. Then it's going to get a three-dimensional body. But in this time, you already in the third dimension. So you're in training to get a sixth-dimensional body. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to get that fourth dimension, that fifth dimension, then that sixth-dimensional body. But these are higher level of existences. You see what I'm saying? And you can just perceive it right now. So you're like a speck looking out into a body. So you so small, a lot of the body seem dark because you're not consciously aware of the kind of lights and the consciousness awareness of the perception that they have. The same way a blood cell in you will look at you like you're the universe, but it's your mind may be so far away from the cells in your knees that they almost like that's so far away. We're gonna have to learn how to develop, be it a kneecap, to be in a muscle, to be in a bone structure, then rising up to be in a vessel, to be in a bloodstream, then becoming of the cell, then becoming they have to become so many ideas in that realm of reality. Same way, like I said, when I was in the first dimension, I was a planet, nigga. I was a motherfucking organ. I wasn't playing small. When I was in my fucking, now say I was in another universe, say I was in my dad. I was in another universe. I was in my dad. So it's so many words. I was like in the first dimension, but I ain't play small there. When I went into the first dimension, I went into the second dimension in there too. The third dimension, the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, the eighth dimension, then the ninth dimension, and then boom, boom, I was able to go into a mother, right? But that only became the second dimension again. You see what I'm saying? You gotta understand. And then now I'm in 3D. But I did like all 9 dimensions in one dimension. Did all 9 dimensions. This is where compound numbers come from. Did all 9 dimensions in the second dimension. Now I'm in the third dimension now. Gotta do all 9 dimensions here. But in the third dimension, to know what level of consciousness you at in the third dimension is to know how high level you perceive. You got niggas here who perceive in the 8th dimension, like me. You got people who perceive in the 9th dimension, like me. You got people who perceive in the 7th dimension, like me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm perceiving the ninth dimension. So once I'm done with third dimension, you got some people in third dimension who can't leave third dimension. You got some people in third dimension just getting the fourth dimension. You got some people just in the third dimensional vessel. You see what I'm saying? It goes deep. It's deep. Like, it's high and low. It's as above, so below, as within, so without. Like, but on the grandest level, and the grandest people who could perceive the most grandest thoughts and imaginations and ideas is going to be able to perceive the grandest perceptions and be able to perceive the grandest idea and be part of the overall. So when the grand idea busts a nut, you end up getting developed in a realm of reality that you can be face to face with the grand idea. And that's what I was talking about in the last video. I ain't gonna say I came out in that kind of reality, but I was in a realm of reality that was some grand shit. You see what I'm saying? And I only for a split second I was able to be consciously aware of I was there. So when you don't go into a realm of reality, like when you just get ejaculated out, like this sperm, like this left sperm or something like that, you die. So I had no choice but to descend, because it took a while for me to get back absorbed into what I was in the first place, as in the overall space of wherever I came out in space that was in. You see what I'm saying? So then I came back, and then came into a dimension once I found the light that my frequency was vibrating with, but I was always doing the same thing, having the highest perception, having the highest consciousness, and the highest perception, highest consciousness take over the highest idea. So say you got the highest idea, everybody gravitate towards your idea, or whatever like that. The being that you in, that's the idea that it rolls with. It gets the vibration and energy, right? And then it gives you the power within it, so you become that light source. So when you die, you go to where you could go to the highest life form, the highest dimension. You see what I'm saying? And you got some people stuck in the third dimension. So when I was in the first dimension, nigga, I was the highest frequency. You got a lot of people who come in the third dimension who didn't even complete all the dimensions last time. People get rushed out, people die too early, people transform, people get clashed on with others, people be twins, people be triplets. You know what I'm saying? There's all kind of shit that goes on in this realm of reality. There's all kind of perceptions, all kind of ways and shape, forms, and outlooks, all kinds of ideas, all kinds of bigs and smalls. It's like, it's a never ending, but it's always ending. And it never begins, but it's always beginning. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's why never is a powerful word. And only use it when you're trying to not experience something. Never use it when you didn't experience something yet. You see what I'm saying? Because you could be a never land, to the point that everybody is experiencing something that you told yourself you would never want to experience. So always tell yourself never when you've been through an experience that you don't want to experience again. Never tell yourself never to an experience you never experienced before. Never use that word for that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm using never too much right now. But for the most part, yeah, man, that's what the fuck it is. So, as in the third dimension right now, you know what I'm saying? The highest conscious awareness people, the people who could be aware of the highest dimension. If you could perceive the people who could perceive the highest dimension in the dimensional vessel that they're in, you in the third dimensional vessel right now. So the highest dimension you could perceive in this dimension, that's too much light source. You gave the vessel that you in too many ideas. They rolling with that. They doing shit with that idea in their realm of reality. So you have no choice but to experience that realm of reality. You see what I'm saying? Because you giving them ideas in that realm of reality. Like niggas who come up with new video games, new technologies and shit like that, right? When they bring kids into this universe, right? They have no choice but the kids that they bring in has no choice but to carry on shit like that. Because that's what it is. Your kids, you don't even have to always have kids. Your ideas and thoughts is what it is. Females, your emotions and feelings is what it is. So make sure you're vibrating. Make sure your frequencies is vibrating, men and women. Make sure your frequencies is vibrating always on a balance of yourself, because that's when you always going to receive the right frequency vibrations, right? And when you roll with that, you bring in the best creativity. You bring in the best creativities. You bring in the best imaginations, and you go to the best places. and you rise above. You know what I'm saying? And it's not even, see, what I'm stepping into sound like rambling, because language is one of the first things that fuck shit up, because these things are just experiences. They're not meant to be explained. They're not meant to be put into language. They're not meant to put into words. This realm is not even meant to be put into too many squares and boxes, aka utilizing the left brain to analyze it. This is just truly experience. So when you try to logically do it, you using your own light to shine on lights that's already there, aka you're trying to break down illusions that people have consumed themselves with. And a person may not ever understand rambling when rambling is round, it's circle. And if there's no right amount of squares, if it's not a right amount of logic you could put on to that, then people won't be able to understand it in the dimensional vessel that they're in. So it becomes like lost knowledge. But this is some of the truest knowledge you could ever hear in your life. It's just me saying that this is some of the truest knowledge you can ever hear in your life in general, is the filter, is the first blockage that fucks up life. Communication. Flight boss bitch, goddamn man.